Good morning, everyone. Shane Watson here with Strategic Business Solutions, Inc. And today I'll be demoing the Clearview Work Suite and how to create a HR, human resources, total cost of ownership, and return on investment for changing out software if you think that's important. So we'll show you exactly how we do this. I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop, which hopefully you'll be able to see this Clearview Work Suite. And I will go ahead and stop the video so that you can see the screen versus me. As you can see, I'm logging in. I'm getting the welcome to the Clearview Work Suite. I'm going to go over here and open up a demo company that I have for this purpose. And we'll bring up this SBSI All Product Demo Company. I'll go ahead and open up that detailed study. SBSI has built this work suite tool. As you can see here, we have a tab for human capital management and a tab for financial management. On the HCM side, we have the capability right now as the system sits to evaluate payroll, time and labor management, HR, benefits, recruiting, comp, learning, and performance. And on the finance side, we can do general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, cash management, budgeting and forecasting, and tax management. Key thing to note here is as I set these studies up, we can configure the scope of these studies very much in relationship to the interest of the prospect. So this could be a payroll study only and everything else switched off. To that end, it's an HR study only right now with everything else switched off, but we could turn on payroll, time, HR, recruiting, comp, learning, and performance, and make this a very comprehensive study. Just to address cost real quick, if we are doing core type product studies, they are a little more involved. So there's a general information study, payroll, time and labor, HR, benefits, and recruiting. Those are what we would classify as core. Then we have three non-core: comp, learning, and performance pillars that we add on there. Typically, when we do these studies, we charge about $5,000 per core pillar and about $3,000 per non-core. So if you were going to do a complete study, you'd probably be in around the 25 to 30 grand range for us to come in and do the complete evaluation of your organization. I'm going to go ahead and open up my reports to do this demo, and I am going to open up, first of all, my total cost of ownership overview. And let's just talk about this report for a minute. Obviously, down the right side, these are the different pillars that could have been switched on. As you can see, I've got all the HCM and all the finance stuff. We could actually turn off the complete finance module if we wanted to and just keep this to HCM. But we make this visible very much on purpose. We want executives to see what we studied and what we didn't, in hopes that perhaps they'll say, well, why didn't you look at this or this or this? Because we know we have challenges in those areas. But in any case, HR was the focus of this study. We only activated the HR pillar. Total cost for HR in this organization is $15,561,814. And as you kind of go through this pillar, I want to spend just a minute talking about the elements of HCM cost. So if we're in HR or benefits or recruiting or accounts payable or whatever, our methodology is going to be consistent at SBSI regardless of the pillar that we're in. So the methodology that we follow or the information that we collect when we talk about a total cost of ownership recipe, in this case for HR, these are the things that we will include in that study. So if I start on the left side over here, there's three buckets of labor that get included in the study. One is the processing labor, or call it the HR people that report into HR. but it could be somebody, outside of HR in a payroll department or a finance department that come over and do some HR functions. If they do, we'll include them as well in there. The idea here is to get the total cost of labor to deliver HR services in this organization. Second bucket is the IT maintenance labor. So this is going to include any IT or technical resources, HRIS people, anybody doing help desk support, writing custom reports, database administration, whatever it looks like to support the current HR system. Those are the resources we'll collect here. Third bucket of labor is what we refer to as field labor, and this is going to be largely managers and organizations of the field of the organization. So we're measuring here how easy it is for these managers and employees to interact and work with HR the way that we have it set up and what the cost of that is. Next, we'll move to the non-labor items. There's a processing non-labor. Keep in mind over here, we collected the labor cost for HR, but we don't have any of the departmental budget costs that might include things like facilities and rents and lease and furniture and office supplies and operational overhead that is required to have these people work in brick and mortar buildings and stay within our infrastructure. So we'll capture those here. System maintenance non-labor is the technical non-labor costs. So technical related operating expenses such as servers, third-party hosters, disaster recovery, backup, licensing fees on the software, anything at all that we're paying to support the application. Outsourcing fees are going to be partner costs. So in the case of HR, I don't know, maybe we have somebody writing employee manuals or doing different pieces. Probably have some legal or folks like that are involved that we're paying for. And then risk and opportunity is where we're looking at things like error rates, cost impacts associated with overtime controls, the way we're system integrated, tax credits, rules-based system technologies, all of those things kind of get factored into here. With that in mind, the summary costs then are kind of reported based on that structure. So we have our processing labor, non-labor, our IT maintenance, field labor, initial implementation, if we have it, all of those kind of things total up to the 15,561, if you will. This is going to be the total cost, and then we benchmark. So we'll take our total cost, divide by total employees, figure out what our per employee per year cost of HR is. We're looking at this case at 1,146 companies that are in the same size range as 3 to 10,000. Here are 2,643 companies that are in manufacturing, like this organization. And then we also have 162 companies that are using Oracle for payroll, like this organization. And we can see what the various costs are versus what their per employee per year is. Okay. With that in mind, I'm now going to go over and show you the survey that gets deployed to the prospect. So they're going to have a general information survey that'll have some basic information like number of employees, how many salary versus hourly, what are the average rates of pay, what are the pay frequencies, things like that. And then as we get into the pillar survey and open up HR and take that survey, this is what the client would see as they're filling it out. And so this is, those different sections that we went through on the report. Here's an example of putting in their HR labor. Here's the non-labor. Here's IT people supporting things, so forth and so on. So the survey is structured exactly the same way as the report. Once we get all of that data into the tool and into the total cost structure, it's very easy for us at this point to jump over to the calculators and configure and build the ROI. Because we have worked with ADP for so long, we have different profiles that we can apply. So we can apply a comp services, a lyric, a workforce now Vantage, or a managed services. I'm going to go ahead and keep that lyric and apply that. I can also go into the builder and modify anything that I want to on that calculator. Once I get that built, the output report is going to be something like this. So we'll have an ROI overview that we can open now, and that's going to start obviously telling the story of the ROI. So we have a $15 million cost. If we do this deal that we're proposing, there's about 3.7 million in ROI on the table. So that would lower our yearly cost from 15 million down to 11 million per year. This would be the forecasted direct part of that savings. This would be risk and opportunity that would kind of be in addition to icing on the cake, additional things that would improve the ROI based on the risk and opportunities. As we graduate through the report, we're going to see all of the different costs. All of these different blue numbers are hyperlinked. So I can go in here and open up HR and see exactly what work items are being completed. I can look at something like auditing employee records and see that I have 6 HR business partners that spend, 3% of their time. That's this cost based on their salary and load. Here's the amount of value of that work and so forth. Even in, things like if I wanted to look at field labor, I can open these up and it's even going to give me the math. So this is, manager time on employee data inquiries. If I look at the formula, there was a survey question. How many hours per week does the typical manager spend? The answer was 2.5. 290 managers involved. We're multiplying by 52 weeks. Got an average rate of pay of $53 and a 17% load. So we're able to see everything and how it's calculated as we go into this ROI. This table is going to give us the current cost, the estimated savings, what portion of that is direct versus indirect, and then forecast the first year and ongoing years ROI for us. We also have all the risk and opportunity impact items here. These are going to have additional information that if we want to look at, we can. We can review the formulas. And then this is kind of bringing everything together as well as letting us document other things that might not have a financial dynamic to it, but things that we want to talk about that would be compelling reasons why to make the change. So that's the ROI report. Now we've done, 20,000 of these studies over the last 15 years. So one of the things we have, as you can imagine at this point, is a fairly rich database. I always like to wait and talk about this at the end, but because we've done so many of these studies, we have the ability to support our sales reps with things like the benchmark comparison report. So they can open this up and say, here's the name of my company. This is my name. I'm going to look at, companies that are 3 to 10,000 in size. I may want to look at healthcare. And because I'm doing benefits, I'll go ahead and pick that. I'll say that I'm looking at a lyric implementation and that, I don't know, maybe my current prospect is on Lawson. And we'll go ahead and run that. This is kind of how you can use our benchmark data to help understand things that you might do. So here are 7 benefit companies that have on average 7,052 employees in that 3 to 10,000 mix. They're healthcare. They're using Lawson and we're moving them to Lyric. In the 7 cases that we've been able to do that, there has been about, a forecasted annual ROI of just over $1 million. So about $1.3 million. And this includes direct of about 317 and an indirect of $1.014 million. In addition to that, there is about 77,000 in risk and opportunity for a total ROI impact of about $1.4 million. And so this is going to tell you, as we move through this report, the average annual total cost before implementation. This is average annual return on investment. due to the improvements. And this would be the average annual services total cost once we're implemented. So we'd be going from 2.4 million down to 1,086,000 with this much in savings per year. I can then look at all these different areas. So also we've got some glossary of terms here. So if we click these little question marks, it'll tell us what the item is. And then if I open them up, it'll actually give me, we're looking at processing labor here. Average is 3 FTEs. This is all the work that would go away based on an implementation to the Lyric product. So it's very detailed. You can see the work items that are going. If I look at field labor, these are items and cost, supporting employees with benefit related questions. All of these are expandable and can be opened up. I can also go up here and generate an export PDF if I want. And just so you're aware, coming soon will be the mobile app that we hope will be out in the next couple of weeks. But this gives us a transform benefits administration into a 1.4 million annual business impact. We start with this executive summary that kind of gives us a write-up. Then we have this paper version of what I went over with online, as well as the glossary of terms. And then you'll have all of these detail appendices, and notice that these colors on the header correspond to the color in the report so that it's very easy to follow. And that's a wrap. Thank you.